You are listening to the Mulligans and Hackers podcast. Two average guys discussing all things golf. Equipment, courses, the professional game, and even their own golf experiences. Your hosts are Alvin and Chris. This is Mulligans and Hackers, powered by the 36 a Day Golf Company.
Hey everybody, Alvinator here from Mulligans and Hackers, and today on the pod, we have a different guest in the whole sphere of the galaxy of golf, I guess. Aimee Smith from Aimee Smith Studios. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for coming on. I'm really interested to have this conversation. You paint golf, right? Yes. So we're going to get into that. So let's go back to where your background in this artistry world started.
So I've kind of painted forever. Just I don't know when I didn't want to be an artist, for even from a little kid. So I've always played in everything, the paints and charcoals and all that. And then I ended up going the medical route. So in college, I went pre-med, then I went to PA school, became a physician assistant and went that way. And I still had a spare bedroom I was painting out of just for fun. And in my head, I'm like, well, this doesn't make sense. Why am I still painting if I've got a career? But I still did it and it was fun. It was a fun hobby. And then I met my husband and he was trying to make it pro and chasing the Mondays and Q schools and all that. We both lived in Florida. And so he got me into golf. Slowly. I felt like I was, I dipped my toe in it and I didn't buy my own clubs for a few years, even after we got married, but he kind of opened that door into the whole world, and so I think I painted a golf course right before COVID for fun for a friend. And then COVID hit and I'm like, okay, well, let's take this a little bit seriously. I had time off, I think 9 weeks, and I've never had that much time off after PA school. And so I hit it hard and I still called it a hobby for a long time. But in the back of my mind, just because it felt foolish to say, I want to be a full-time artist while I had a career. So I did it for a hobby for a bit and then it took off. But it came to a point where I kind of had to pick, you only have so many hours in a day. And I think Maggie was 2 at the time. And so I remember calling my husband. I'm like, all right, I'm going to hang it up. The orders started coming. I got overwhelmed in a good way, but still. And so I'm like, all right, I'm just going to focus on my real job. And he was like, well, why don't you quit your real job and give this a shot? And we did. And it just, within a month, all my originals had sold. It was like God was kind of tapping me on the shoulder saying, all right, that was the right move. Yeah. It's been a whirlwind since then. Yeah.
So give me an idea of even back in the beginning when the process went, like who was asking for orders and how does the process of what the customer wants, how do you go about getting what the customer wants? Do you visit the courses? Do you just look at pictures and like how does that whole process go from what the customer wants to you getting it on a canvas?
So it's kind of a mix of things. So I've got 2 different type of paintings I do, where one would be, someone comes to me and they're like, hey, I want a painting of my home course, right? And so I'll go and I'll take both drone video and regular video, just with the regular camera. And then I kind of go through them and I pick the best ones. I know, okay, I really want to paint this. And then I present it to them. And usually we pick the same 2 or 3. And so then I kind of nail it down. Then I'll paint it and they get to see it, at the end to make sure it's exactly what they want. And then I ship it to them and, so it's easy that way. The other aspect is, and this is what kind of makes it still fun. And we talked about burnout and things like that, previously. But where I'll go and visit courses and I'll take photos, especially in the beginning, it was mainly this way, where I would go and take photos, of courses that were just on my bucket list, on everybody's bucket list. And then there's, those photos that hit where I'm like, this needs to be a painting. And so then I'd paint it and then I'd list it for sale. And that's a little riskier, because what happens if a painting doesn't sell?
Right.
But they're fun. I call them passion paintings still. So it's kind of those two modes.
Right. So do you do, again, we could, there's so many courses that have signature holes or
Yeah.
iconic holes. How often do you get a chance to first visit any place like that, or do a painting of like a signature, like an Augusta hole, or a Pebble Beach hole, or maybe even like St. Andrews, the old course, like when those type of things come in, because I'm sure you've gotten some of those requests, right? Like, what are those like when you're like, okay, there's some attention to detail that has to be here now because it's so
Yeah.
iconic, right?
Right. But that's kind of how I started. It's those, mixed with history. Because I remember when, I think when COVID happened, I really delved into St. Andrews, for example, and the old hole and the history behind it and the legends. So that made painting the 18th hole at the old course just easy, like an easy option. Like, well, of course I'm going to paint this and take my time with it. And then we went to Pebble Beach and we took the drone out behind. It's a view you don't really see. I mean, you see the green, but we took it, kind of pulled it back a little bit, so you see kind of the rock formations and the water coming up. And so I think it covered 7 and 8, and so it was a view, but it's not quite the one that you see when you play.
Right?
So
Because
that was
number seven is the par three, right?
right.
Yeah, the iconic par three. Yeah.
And so it catches the green, but then you see everything through to the 18th. So that was fun, and that was a passion painting of just looking at it, going, well, we've got to paint this. I had somebody reach out and they wanted Amen's corner. Am I saying that right? Amen's corner.
Amen corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, at Augusta. Yeah.
Yep. So he wanted it for his office, and that was a fun one too. But that was more of a personal one for him, just a one-off private commission.
Right.
So it's fun painting those, the holes that mean something to everybody. Um, it's fun. That's the only way it does it. My this doesn't feel like a job when I get to do stuff like that.
Yeah. I again, being into golf now the way we are, like Augusta is kind of our benchmark. It's like, okay,
Right.
like it's so elevated above everything else in my golf world anyway. That's my opinion. But like one of our bucket lists is the old course. We do want to go there and play, because again we see the opens and stuff, and again iconic holes. Where you see like some legends, their last round when they go over the bridge.
Right.
Like those type of paintings. Like, yeah, that would be iconic to have a picture of the bridge, the stone bridge. I'm not sure what hole it's on, but it is an iconic image in golf. Um, so when you get these orders for paintings and say it's somebody in that's their private course, you know, do you get the same intensity painting a hole like that, you say, as maybe an iconic hole from a
Oh,
really well-known course?
so you're asking kind of, is there as much focus on the entire
Yeah.
project? Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Well, so the process is still, when we go, and we've gotten lucky with the weather, and I'm rolling dice, and I feel like I just jinxed myself from here on out. We'll give ourselves maybe 2 or 3 days at a course just to make sure we get the right light, those sunrises, sunsets. And usually there's at least one sunrise and one sunset. But when we go to these courses, it's fun because they're new to us, right? And so my husband goes sometimes too. He's really good he's a golfer, so he knows that golfer shot. I know the artist shot, like, oh, the composition, and
Right.
he calls me out like, oh, no one wants to see that. I'm like, okay, well, so it's neat. We kind of balance each other off that way.
So when you get one of these requests for a hole and you get all your, we'll say, background research done, and you have the full shot,
Yeah.
getting it to the canvas, what type of process is that for getting the whole setup on a canvas and getting it completed? Like, what type of time frame do you take from start to finish when you have what you want and getting it to a canvas?
So once we have the photo, that we just, light bulbs go off and I'm like, okay, this is it. Usually I'll do like a little color study, which is just on a piece of, a normal letter size, just to make sure the colors are where I want them. And it's a looser painting too. And then once I have that down, I'll sketch it on the canvas and then just go to town and, I paint in layers. So it does take me a little bit longer to paint. So if we're looking, and it depends on how much detail. So if there's buildings, I don't know why buildings, they slow me down. But typically, if say it's a 36 by 48, maybe a month start to finish. Right now I'm working on a 5 by 6. It's of the view at Royal Dornick looking back over from the 7th tee. And I've been waiting on this for just years, right? That's taking me a little bit longer just because I want it perfect, which is a flaw of mine, but yeah.
So again, let's go back. Time frame. What are we looking at here? Day, week, month? Because I've actually seen in some of your social media posts going back and touching up your paintings and stuff.
Yeah.
Like how long does that take? Like where you're, I guess you're happy with the final product and you say, okay, this is what the customer wanted. I don't need to put a brush to it anymore. How long does those type of things take?
Typically about a month. If you're looking at one of the larger pieces, and I love painting bigger just because you feel like you can walk into it. Typically I give myself a month, and it may move a lot quicker. A lot of times what I do is I'll finish it and then I'll step back and I'll give myself like a week or two when I say it's drying, and then it'll kind of peek out and I'm like, oh, okay. Like the Valderrama piece that I just finished. It was sitting there for 2 weeks and I went back and completely redid the water. And so now you have to wait 2 more weeks for it to dry. But if you don't count those little moments, about 4 to 6 weeks, a month, give or take, depending on the size. Yeah.
And so how many of these requests do you get in a month to say, we'll say somebody reaching out and saying, I want a painting, and this is what, again, I'm trying to get the process of like when a customer says, I'm going to go and get Aimee to paint one of the holes, like from that request to the customer getting it, man, it could be like a couple of months.
Right now we're looking about a year.
A year.
Yeah, just because of fun projects that are coming up and collaborations and things. And usually it's been a year out for a while. I think I have one opening in May that popped up because we're traveling over the summer, and with the two girls, we have a 9-month-old, and so I'm giving myself a little bit more time. So we're saying I tell clients a year, but it could be 7, 8 months, right? But the fall's pretty heavy. But it's different this year because when I was on maternity leave, I didn't really post a lot on socials. I didn't paint, and so I didn't advertise, and that was quite a few months that normally I would have just been pushing it. And I was like, nah, we'll see, which is great because it's given me a few little windows to work on fun projects I wouldn't have,
So when you traveled, do you golf when you travel?
We try to. But usually when we travel, so for example, we're going to Scotland this summer, and we're visiting the clubs that I've worked with in the past, some new ones, and we're taking those reference shots. And so we're getting up sunrise and sunset in the summertime. That schedule doesn't really allow for too much. Yeah,
right.
We want to. We bring our funds, but
I mean, that's going to be a wild trip. Again, it's on our bucket list to get over there and perhaps play the old course, but play some other courses over there too. Because again, it's home of golf, right? And being a little bit of an armchair historian, that to me is something that I will hold very dear when I get there. And maybe down the road, that's something that we'll want to do to commemorate that trip, is to get a painting of maybe 18 or it's quite a nice, how do I put it? What you do is such a unique, I don't want to call it a niche, but such a unique investment into golf if you love golf.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Like what you can get tactile and touch and I just think it's absolutely wild. And you've turned it into a business.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, we talked about a little bit off camera here, but talk about that whole business aspect of the behind the scenes stuff that maybe the customer doesn't see, or people that look at your sites and they don't see like that business aspect of it. Because if a painting can take up to a year, how does the commission work on that then, right?
Right. Well, the painting wouldn't take a year. The painting would take like a month. But as far as the next time slot, to do. Yeah, I hope I don't ever paint something that takes a year. I don't think my focus could last that long. But you're right, the business side, and this I talk to to entrepreneurs in all fields, especially artists, we all say the same thing of, we wish we could paint more. And there's so many times I'm like, if I just had someone, an assistant to do all the back end and I could just paint all day. Look how, what could I do with that? But then I stopped because it kind of breaks it up and it's fun. So I love design and graphic design and doing all that. And then social media, there are all these different challenges. The problem is you have all these, you're kind of bowling with quite a few different balls trying to do the same thing. So
Yeah, we were talking about that before we jumped on the social media aspect of it, the business aspect of it, and then the actual, completing of what you're trying to do. Like for me, it's
right.
We're trying to golf, but then we have, we have the social media aspect of it, and then we have the other aspects of it when it comes to like merchandise and other, other entities in the whole business aspect of it. You have the same thing, like you want to be painting, but then you have the business aspect of it, and golfing, you like to golf, so all of those challenges too, right? So at any one given time, Aimee, how many projects do you have on the go?
Oh gosh, I don't know. And I keep adding them too. It was like, okay, so for example, this sums up my brain. I'm working on this big Dornick piece, and this is another passion piece, right? So every free time I get goes to this big painting. But for some reason, I thought I need to redo my website. I want to completely rehaul it. I don't like how it looks. So I'm working my website and then I'll take a break and then I'll go paint. And then while something's uploading, I'll go paint. But then like just that stop and go. Just because I told myself, and I'm sure you've done it too, like, oh, I'll just change the fonts here and the colors. And I'll take a day. And that was a week and a half ago. And I'm sitting here like, what have I done? But I'm too far in. So like if I stop now, the website's probably going to crash and I don't know what I'm doing. So I feel like I'm doing that constantly. Yeah.
So, but like your painting projects, how many of those do you have
painting wise.
Like how many paintings do you have on the go at any given time that you're working on? Are you just working on one painting and this is it? This is it for until I get it finished, or do you go, okay, I'm going to work on this, and when I get to a certain point, I'll work on another one?
Yeah.
Like how many of those type projects do you have on the go at any given time?
So it varies. Usually it's about 3 to 4, and I can start 2 to 3 paintings at the same time. But when a painting gets to, I'm over halfway finished with the Dornick ones. When it gets to that point, it becomes all consuming. I won't touch another one until this one's done at this point. Just because I walk right in the studio and pick up the brush and get to town on that. But in the beginning stages, I kind of move them around a little bit. So right now I just finished the Valderrama one a few weeks ago. I do wedding paintings on the side. So I just varnished one yesterday. I've got a sketch for a private commission of a Royal Dornick one. So just a few at different stages. But like I said, once it hits this stage where I'm at now, I get kind of tunnel vision. I wish I wasn't that way. I wish I could let me take a break and play and sketch. And that's what I said. I'm like, I'm gonna do little smaller paintings just for fun to get a little bit looser and practice. I'm not gonna start that for another few weeks. Yeah.
So do you take your easel out to a golf course and sit on a hole and do a painting?
I have, yeah. It's so much fun. Yep.
There are views that I even now come to mind, like on golf courses that I've played, where you could just stand there and go, wow, just wow, right? Exactly. So what's it like when you take your easel out and you sit and you do a painting? Because obviously you're not going to stay there for a month. But what type of results are you looking for when you go do something like that?
That's one of my favorite kind, and that's what I'm trying to get better at. It's called plein air painting, where you've got the easel box and you sit and you paint 1 to 2 hours. You can do more than that, but because it's oil, it gets kind of muddy. But I've done that. I did that year before last. I did it at Cruden Bay, on the overlook, and then Dornick at that overlook. We did a member tournament at High Point, and I sat that, and that turned out really well because I had more time for detail. I think I was there for 2 or 3 hours. So it's fun. It's so much fun doing it. In the summer, I'm doing it for another member, where I'll have more time to sit up there and paint. And I think we're going to give that to the winner. And then there's another one this summer over in Scotland. We're auctioning off for charity. So those are fun because they're looser. Does it make sense? You're not going to see a lot of detail, but it's that style where it's wet paint to wet paint. It's fun. And it's the same thing with the live wedding paintings, where it's more entertaining because you'll get the golfers come up at the very beginning and kind of look at it and kind of shake their head really polite, like, oh, that's really pretty. Have you done this before? And it's like, oh no. But as I keep going, and when they see it at the end, you can tell they approve at least. It's fun. Yeah.
What are some of your favorites that you've done?
Painting wise?
Yeah. Like, what are some of the holes that you've done that either you've been there or the customer is really going to enjoy these type of this holes because it's a signature hole. What are some of your favorites that you've done?
So there's one, the painting's called Sunrise at Royal Dornick. And it was a drone shot where we pulled it back over, where it kind of juts out and you've got 7, but then it comes around with 10 and goes around. And that one, we waited for that sun to come up it peaked out. A lot of times if the clouds cover it, you're done. There's a whole morning of waiting for it. And so the sun hit and it hit every curve just right. But my husband he had that perspective because you don't really see it. And again, when I started painting these holes, I'm like, all right, I want to paint what the golfer sees, right? So that's what they know. But as time went on, I'm like, well, hold up. If you pull that drone shot back, you can play your last round. You can say, oh, there's 7, there's 8, 9, 10. But that shot, it's perfect. It sums up. I mean, it's a unique view, but that's the one that's my favorite. It was my favorite to paint, but anytime somebody gets it, they're like, oh my gosh, they get so excited over it. Yeah.
So what course, what hole is on your bucket list to get finished? That's something that you're looking forward to. Say, I haven't done this, but this is one I want to do.
Oh gosh, there's a few. It's a really good question. Well, because I've done 18 at the old course.
Of course, yeah.
And then 17, 18 at Pebble. So those are the big ones. I think it's more of visiting, because I've thought this recently. I'm like, whoa, I started off my career hot with the like what's left, not what's left. There's always more, but like, how did I start off with those? Like, I think what I'm excited about is just to visit new courses and get those perspectives, even, the ones that we know as golfers, but maybe with different lighting. So it's not, the same that we've seen, or a different perspective. But I think that's what I'm excited about, is just visiting these courses and painting something new. Does it make sense?
It does for sure. I mean, yeah. We play golf, and that's one of the things we look forward to. I mean, we just did a season prep for our amateur tour that we're going on, and there's 2 courses that the tour's never been to. So you get excited
just over something new,
because you've never been there. And again, we're so new into golf that I look at it as like, I haven't even been anywhere yet. Like I haven't, I look at the courses that I can list and go, yeah, there's in the whole world of golf, there's nothing there that's probably huge, but for me, they are.
It's fun, right?
Because we get to play Mickelson National in Calgary, designed by Phil. And for me as a hacker golfer, I'm like, this is probably a little bit above my pay grade in the golf world, I guess. But it's so cool that we get to go there and we actually get to participate. So I kind of get what you're saying. Like, you may not be able to say, I can name this that I want to do, but there's just so much more out there.
Well, and so it's the same. And we talked a little bit about, being new golfers from COVID, essentially. But this even goes to if you've played your whole life, where I think for me, that's what draws me to not even just playing golf, but also painting it. There are so many different adventures you can go on. But even when you play a course that you've played 100 times, you're still playing against yourself, right? And it's still a different challenge day to day. And so I think that it keeps changing that way, where it's like, I don't ever see myself getting tired of painting golf courses, because it's something new every single time, regardless of I'm painting the same course 10 times or painting something new. Like
I guess that's that's something else to consider as well in the whole grand scheme of the entrepreneurship that you have, is we can play golf on the same course 100 times and play against ourselves and get the same type of enjoyment out of it. Do you get the same type of enjoyment out of painting, we'll say, the same course, the same hole?
Absolutely. So, for example, I've painted quite a few of St. Andrews, even the iconic shot. There's one. I think the first one I painted was the staple, the trio where you've got the Hamilton Grand and the RNA and then the Swilcan Bridge. But then I painted one that was a little bit further back, but different lighting, and then one that was a little bit further back, and then a drone shot, and then the Jubilee course, where depending on the morning, you get different lighting, and it's a whole different painting. Absolutely. I don't get tired of it. I keep waiting for that. I feel like that's kind of the definition of burnout, maybe, but I keep waiting for it and it hasn't happened yet. Yeah.
Yeah, because yes, there's so many different, even for when I'm drawing that parallel between painting a course and playing at a course, because you play at a course when it's 30 degrees Celsius out, or you play a course when it's raining out or overcast. You get all these different experiences on the same course. You can do the same thing with painting. That's kind of,
yeah. I mean, you've played it before, but you're still having a different experience. We'll take our 7-year-old out, and we've played the same course for years, and it's fun seeing how she's starting to, because you always carry that in the back of your mind when you're teaching your kids golf, like, oh, they're going to hate this. Oh, they're going to stop playing after 5 holes. And she's getting better and better, which kind of shows, how our brains work too. Of like, we don't get tired of it. Yeah, we still keep playing and we still keep getting better or worse. I think I'm in that.
Yeah, I'm pretty stagnant in where I am in the game now. I do believe I have reached the peak of what I can contribute to a scorecard, probably without getting into the sphere of taking some lessons and stuff. And again, like we talked about before, this is something I'm going to do until I can't. So I've probably got about another, a solid 20, maybe 25 years of playing this sport. So it might be time to take the bullet and do some of that extra work in the game to make the game, to try and get better. Since I've started, I've gotten better at the game. That's undeniable. But if I want to take another step, I do believe I have to get into that sphere of lessons and club fittings and all this type of stuff that's part of the game as well, right?
Yeah, it gets fun. It gets addicting.
Well, again, the addicting thing, I'm already addicted. That is, but now it might be time to put some extra work into this game. Just again, just to see if I can take that next step, because the growth over the last 5 years in the game has been, it is noticeable, but probably last season was definitely noticeable where, I reached a peak. This is the best I can be.
Right.
But it's not where I want to be, because obviously you want to be better.
Right.
So if you want to get there, there's only so much time you can spend on the range, only so much time you can spend on the putting green. But if you want to take the next step.
Do you think that's the part that makes it addicting?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
This is one of those games that you can never perfect.
Right.
Right. So it's always in your mind. Right.
Yeah.
You play this game and you go, I mean, I don't want to get too much into the weeds on this stuff. I mean, I can go to the course that I've played 100 times and go triple bogey, double bogey, triple bogey. And then I can rattle off 6 pars in a row.
Right.
And it's like, well, what did I do to myself? How did I start the round like that? And you start doing all that self-criticism, right? Like, were you ready? Blah, 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 right? And that's part of the addictive part too, right? You want to be prepared as you can when you tee off.
You don't want to think about it too hard, because if you think about it too hard, then right.
Yep.
Well, it's interesting because I have that, and I've taken lessons, but then I didn't play for a few months after. I got lessons right before the winter, which wasn't the best idea, because I think you still have to use the lessons. But so every time I go out, I get better and better and better, because I've got so much, as a beginner, so much space to do that. But I didn't play for a long time, because when Steve would come home, and he's good, like really good. So he would say, oh, I played awful today. Oh, da, da, da. And I'm like, well, if he's playing awful and he's this good, there's no chance for me. But once you start realizing, like, nobody sees you when you go to the driving range. Everyone's focusing on themselves. Like, it's
when we joined this amateur tour that's out this way, and we kind of knew about it when we started golfing. I did say to my friends, I'm like, somewhere down the line, we're going to play on this tour, because you don't have to qualify for it or anything. You can just pay to be on the tour, and you can pay for your events to get into. And but the way the tour is laid out is it's flighted. So
Okay.
there's 5 flights. So you have the scratch golfers in the A flight, or the champ flight it's called. Then you have like the 5 handicappers in the A flight. Then you like the 10 to 5 handicappers in the B flight. And then you have, right? So when you show up and you have a legitimate handicap, but you have to have a Golf Canada handicap to play on the tour, when you show up, you're actually playing against people of your caliber.
Right.
So when you show up, it's like, I do have a chance of winning because I'm in where I am in my golf world in my handicap. I'm playing against those people. I'm not
Right.
playing against the scratch golfers. I'm not playing against the single digit handicaps. So go out and play your game and see what happens, right? And I do believe that, because the first event I played, I finished second in my flight,
Yeah. Good
and
job.
I do believe I was addicted. I was like hooked right then. And I've
Yeah.
never had a finish like that since, but that one is the one that hooked me. It's like, oh, you want that now. Just going out to the driving range playing my game, that's gotten me where I am. If I want to take that next step and maybe compete for a flight win,
Right.
I'm going to have to do something else.
I feel like you're close. I feel like if you just get one more round and you get another win, you're just gonna go, maybe.
But isn't that something though, Aimee? It's like, just one more round. I'm hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rounds into this bloody game, and it's like, oh, just one more round, and you will figure it out. But I don't know if I can, because there's so many nuances to this whole game, right? Like,
Yeah.
the golf swing. Everybody has their own, but there's some microcosms in that you need to have in order to make it work, right? And I don't take too much video of myself swinging a golf club, but maybe that's something too. It's like, well, your golf swing is here, and you need to get your lower body here or your upper body here, and your hands are here in your backswing. But I can't do that. I'm not good enough at the sport to do that. I need somebody else to look at that and go, okay, dude, this is where you need to be. And maybe that's where the lessons come in, right?
Like, and now though, they even have apps that do that, where you video your swing and you get some pros come in and say, hey, do this and this and this. And so you can make it. I think that's what's addicting about it now too, where you could take it as far as you want to go.
I'm totally like, not that if I go and get lessons and I get in contact with a coach, that might be another part of it that I get addicted with. I just spend all my time.
Just a little bit of changes.
Right now, I'm going like, okay, what do I do now? Do I go see my coach and get a golf lesson, or do I go play? Right, and you know what I mean? It just adds another element into what you're trying to do.
And it's not just lessons either. And so that's something that I learned this before I even picked up clubs, with my husband. We added meditation into the mix, and he got better, right? And different exercises and strengthening routines, like all these things you can do.
Last January, like, I started going to the gym. I've
Yeah.
never been a gym rat in my life, ever.
Yeah.
But 3 years into golf, I was like, okay, dude, maybe you need to get in a little bit of better shape. So I went to the gym. Then you start walking the course. So again, that's evolution as well, right? And it's just, I've never seen myself, growing up as an adult, being that guy that's at the gym. But yeah, I go 2-3 times a week, all the time. Like, and you're doing weights and mobility and cardio and.
And once you start, it's kind of like looking back, going, why haven't I done this for years? Yeah.
Well, again, we talked about it, like we talked about it off camera, but where you are in your life, right? And so when you're a dad and you have 4 kids, there's not a lot of time in the run of a day to do that. But now that they all start, you're starting to gain that time as they start to leave the nest, right? So then more and more time is like, oh, well, now what do I do? Right? So I see my progress in the game, and I'm happy with how it's going, and I'm interested to see what else it has in store for me.
Yeah.
Right. So again, that's part of the addicting thing. Is where am I going to be in a year, 2 years, 3 years, right? In the game.
We were talking about it, off camera. We both kind of got into this whole world. It's not even an industry at this point, during COVID, which was what, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Which is nothing. I still feel like a baby in this industry.
Same.
So what's going to happen in the next 5? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know if, who knows?
Well, but that's the thing, Aimee. Like, I look back at my first year, 2021, playing to 2022. There was a significant increase in my ability to play the game, and me wanting to play the game. And I'm 5 years later, here I am, still doing a podcast, still play a lot of golf. and
Right.
looking forward to what's coming up in golf, right? Like, I know there's some events on the tour that I'm going to play, but what else is there? Am I going to play at this special course, or am I going to make that trip to St. Andrews, or am I going to make that trip to Arizona? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's so much stuff to look forward
Changes
to.
your life. And it sounds so dramatic to say that.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
does that make sense? Like all my
Yeah,
friends are just annoyed at this part because I'm like, hey, you should play golf. Hey, you should play golf. Hey, what about this? And then, but once you get in it, it is a world that opens up opportunities, community, you name it, health, fitness, mental.
and again, I find like outside the golf world, we'll say in the real world, I
Yeah.
use air quotes there, but a lot of people don't get it. Like a lot of the people, like we'll say in my work environment, I do play with some people, in my work environment every now and then. But like most people get, well, why do you do it? Why do you play golf? Well, why don't you?
Now I feel like it's changed a lot, at least when I was growing up, you kind of felt like there was if you didn't grow up playing it, you weren't welcome, or you had a different
There was a stigma there.
a stigma. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that has changed a lot recently. I mean, maybe that has been because of COVID, but you're seeing a new generation of golfers come in where we're there to just get better and make it an adventure. But I don't even know if it's that or if we're now in this world and we're like, oh, this is great. Everybody should know about this.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing.
I think it changes me where I've seen it like, oh no, I wish I started this in high school. Yeah.
Same. But where I grew up, there weren't any golf courses, so it wouldn't have been easy for me. But I look at going back to like the environment and the people. I find some people are in it. They go to the course, got to have their drinks. That's what they're there for. Swing a golf club, hit a ball, get boozed up. But that's something I've never been into. So again, even in that environment, there's that type of separation. Like I'm there to play the game and get better at the game. I'm not there for. I mean, socializing is part of it, I guess, but I'm not there for that type of socializing.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Like that. I don't know. Some of the people like I've literally cut out playing golf with that's what they do. They go, they drink, and for me, it's water, vitamin water, and like Gatorades.
Protein bar. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I think in the 5 years I've played, I think I've probably had 3 alcoholic beverages on the course, maybe. And that's when the round was going so bad that I just needed something to take the edge off.
No, same.
But again, golf is people are in golf for those different types of reasons. Some people do it just for a social get together, right? And the score really doesn't matter. And
Right.
some people are in it like us or me personally, like score does matter because that's what I'm there for.
But it's that challenge where you're mainly there for a challenge against yourself, kind of the same as going to the gym or yeah. And I think I don't know if it was off camera or here, but that's what the addicting part is,
I mean,
At least- yeah.
I always had, even when I'm home here, it was always funny when I grew up as a goalie and I played goal pretty much my entire life in hockey. And I always had a goalie glove on my hand. Didn't matter where I was in the house or what I was doing. I always had, right? And now that I'm like way past that, I always got a golf club in my hand.
Right?
I got a golf club, like drives my wife crazy. I've got golf clubs out in the living room right now in the chair.
Oh, same. Yeah. At least 1 or 2 rings.
They're
Yeah.
everywhere. I've got like 13 putters here in the office. That's part of it too, Aimee. The addictive part is you want the gear, right? There's always that piece of equipment that you want. I'm a Wilson 8802 putter guy. I gotta get one somewhere somehow, but I don't want the new release edition. I want the old.
We're always looking for the new thing. Yeah. Well, and so I think my husband gets on to me because I think I'm so new that I'm waiting until I feel better before I change in my clubs. Right. But when I go with him, I'll pull out his new driver and I'm like, oh, what about this? I'll pull out this. And there's so many specs to it. And it's addicting. There's so many things you can do. And now, at least with us, there's new outfits and new, it just keeps going. And they've gotten so significantly, like leaps and bounds, more creative just in the past 5 years since COVID. The brands that are coming out are they're incredible. It makes you want to golf more.
And then again, that's another part of it too. Like being in golf and in the social media world, you get to see them come on the market and get there and then all of a sudden they're like, oh wow, they're there, they're in the industry, right? We've seen it a couple times with some of the brands that we know and have been on our podcast. They start off as these little entities, and now they're everywhere across Canada, North America, right? And it's like, holy smokes! Like, well, that didn't take long.
But it's exciting though, just from an entrepreneur, like where you look at it, you're like, okay, we're all babies at some point, and we all get into this, and just hard work, and it's a different world in this golf world than the
And
entrepreneurial
then
weddings or
it's
something.
same thing. It's like they say, golf is a niche, and it's but when you first step into this golf world, it is so big.
Yeah, but it's
It's,
supportive. Do you feel
it's
that way as just a podcaster where, so for example, like the PGA show, have you been,
never been to one,
oh, you need to go.
right?
It's
Um,
so when I go, I
when you
don't,
talk about bucket list stuff, that's bucket list stuff too, because we have a big one here in Ontario,
yeah,
um, PGA of Canada show or golf show in Ontario, and it's one of the bigger ones in Canada.
yeah,
And our friends, obviously in Canada, uh, Mike Johnny from 36 a day, he always goes, and it has been in my mind to say, we've never met personally. We always do this, right? Show up one day at one of these shows and just walk in and, hey, I'm here, and
yeah.
get that. Again, I haven't had that experience, but there's another one to go to these golf shows and the PGA show.
It's that energy.
Yeah,
So I remember the first time I went, and I went just to see what it was about, right? And I'm an introvert, just like you. Even though you're on a podcast, you're pulling this introvert thing off
yeah,
so well.
exactly. I mean, I'm so
But
I say I'm so past that. Like, I'm so past that. I these conversations are what I look forward to now.
oh
It
yeah,
gets me out of that bubble, right? That whole introvert bubble. Um, but I can't imagine going to one of these shows and just now you're surrounded by people who are exactly the same as you.
it's
Love
a lot.
this,
So
love
it's
this sport.
exactly. It's almost like drinking water from a fire hose. And I felt that way because I'm an introvert. Like I sit in silence, or I sit by myself. I don't talk to uh, 30 people like I used to in my old job. But when you go, it's and it's not even so, at least with that, I mainly go to catch up with other golf artists, golf photographers, videographers, the creatives, because we all have that same brain. You get together and you talk about everything that we've talked about, where it's you're so now every time I go, I'm really just going to hang out with my creative friends. And it kind of pours into you, and you form those relationships, and it has really nothing to do about what you're gonna get from somebody. It's just fun, and it reminds me kind of what this industry is we're all just making friends, and we have so much in common, the golf aspect, but from the creative aspect, you can't find that anywhere else. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I am.
fun.
We talking about that when it comes to the socials and the podcast and what we do. Like, we chat with people that we've had on the podcast or know of the podcast
Yeah,
every day, every single day. There's communications all over the place. You check. I check. We're more on Instagram than we are probably on any of the other platforms. So when I log into Instagram, it's like there's always messages, and it's always from people you either had on the podcast or you have friendships with through them listening to the podcast or whatever. Um, I don't think we have fans per se. We have people who appreciate what we do because they can relate to the story that we have.
yeah,
So they're just our friends.
yeah.
So
I like that. The
we're
palm,
always talking to them, right?
right?
And I don't think we'll ever get to a point where we don't have that type of communication with the people, our friends, and the
Yeah,
people we have on the pod, and the people we're looking forward to having on the pod.
right.
So, you know,
You kind of start to realize it's not as with social media. It's I don't know how you feel about it. Sometimes when you get kind of tied up in the algorithms and how things are performing, you kind of lose sight of like these people that you're meeting, online, that are seeing your work, seeing your podcasts, or hearing about your journey. Um, and this is where the PGA show and just meeting people in general, they're real people. Does that make sense? Like
yes, yeah.
when it
That's
is
why I
more,
never looked at it as fans. That's kind of a
yeah,
BS term in my opinion, right? It's like,
right,
you know, I've never looked at it like that. It's always, these are our pals. These are people that are interested. We're in their sphere. They're in ours, and we're just
exactly.
we're just doing our thing this is how we communicate.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So, yeah,
And it's even cooler when you can meet them in real life, at the PGA Tour. Then it makes it real, like, oh, this is an actual somebody that you have a lot in common with.
and again, that's one of the things going to hopefully be in this sphere for even just playing for 20 years. How many people that we've had on the pod, and I mean, did we get to play with? Did we get to go and visit or come visit us? Right. And that's the stuff I'm looking forward to. It's always in the back of your mind, like, because it's not always forward, because you have so much, like, literally at your fingertips that you need to do and pay attention to. But that's always in the back of your mind. Like, can't wait to meet people and go to the golf course with them. And
isn't it crazy though? Do you ever think back and go, as what's a good way to say it? As trying as COVID seemed at the time, right? How it shut everything down, and it was something that none of us had ever been through. Now we're looking back going, whoa, how different would our life look if that didn't happen?
I don't know. Would I have been doing this?
I don't know. Yeah.
Right. And when we first started this whole thing, I had no idea where it would be in 5 years. But now that you look back, you go, oh, okay. It was literally like kind of that journey. Like we did, I think we did seasons in the beginning. The first season we did like 7 episodes, and we had our first like 2 guests. And then season 2 we had like more. Season 3 then we had more. And then after season 3 it was like, well, we're in this sphere now to where we have enough content to drop an episode every Tuesday. Well, it used to be Monday. We did it Tuesdays, like, here we go, like every week. And for over a year we were dropping an episode. It was like, holy smokes. Like
over 100, you're over what, 150, 200?
This is 100 and I think we're, as we speak, I don't know when this pod is going to drop, but I think we're at 136.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All because of steps and clubs.
Right?
Yeah.
Even looking at that number, Aimee, 130 plus, episodes. It's insane to think that I'm still doing it, and and it's still getting the enjoyment out of it too, right?
That was my next point. Yeah.
Like, it's still fun. You still get to talk to new people like this, and that's what this golf is all about for me. Yeah. I play a lot of golf. I like to do the socializing and the connecting now, where I didn't before. It was always that the apprehension and just not really comfortable. Again, you learn how to talk to people. Like, and that sounds so ridiculous, but like, no, I'm still such a noob, as we talked about, in the golf world, that how do I talk to somebody about golf who maybe has been in golf longer or had more success or is more deeper or higher up? How do I talk to those people, right? I think I remember the first time I talked to Brian Cooper, who got his PGA Champions Tour card. I was like, well, if I could talk to a guy like that, I could, who else? Who couldn't I talk to?
Yeah.
Right.
Do you ever get starstruck? Do you ever get like where you have somebody on that you're just, yeah?
One of the things, I've golfed with some hockey players that play at a pro level, and I've played with some Canadian Football League players, pro athletes and stuff. And one of the reasons they don't mind playing with us, we don't do the fanboy stuff.
Right. No, exactly.
I'm not a fanboy. You do your thing and I do my thing, but I appreciate the work, effort, and it takes for you to get to that level. But yeah, I don't look at athletes as anything other than people.
Right. No, exactly. Well, even like role models or people, that are on your top 3 of people to meet, right? At the end of the day, at least for me, it's not, oh, they're celebrity or whoever. It's more of, do not kind of look at it like, whoa, they're a master of their craft. Like, look how many hours.
Exactly.
They're the best at what they do, and that's where I get kind of.
Yeah, I've never been a person that's been a hero worshiper. Never had heroes or people that I looked up to like that, because everybody has their own journey, right? And
people, yeah,
right. They're just people. Okay, and I don't care how much money you make. That's irrelevant. It's here and here, right? That's what makes a person. And yeah, we've never done the fanboy thing, and I think it people get enamored with that. It's like, oh, I could just be myself. I don't have to be this pro athlete here. because I'm with
Right.
these guys, right? And then, yeah, and then they start to open up a little more, right? Because they don't have to be protective, because again, social media is a boon and a bane, right? As
You
we've
know,
seen.
that's it though, is with the celebrity status of influencers, it's a whole different realm, I guess. When I was in college, um, I worked at a line dance restaurant called Wild Horse. They changed ownership, and but we would have like a lot of shows, and you'd see people fangirl all the time. And I'm over here like, well, they still got fried pickles. We still have to deliver the same. You know what I mean? Like it's still at the end of the day,
Yeah,
everybody's still
yep.
the same. But it's when it comes to that school, and I think that's where just seeing and it's kind of with your podcast and at least with art and golf, and when you see somebody just really put in the hours of like that's what's like what I
Yeah,
don't think
you can appreciate that. You really
you
can.
can appreciate it, yeah, versus celebrity status is more of this person's a speed puzzle put together or something, like where I'm over here like how'd they do that, yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I truly do. Well, Aimee, this was a great chat. I really appreciate you doing this with us today, and I hope you got something out of this as well. Is this your first podcast?
I've done one a few years ago with Putnam. They're
Okay.
one of the few clothing lines, but they're fun, and that's something that I was, after listening to your podcast, I was excited to do this because I think we talked about it off air too, is the style of podcast where it just sounds like conversation, where you could hit play and walk away, and it just sounds like people talking. It's so refreshing, and I love that. That's where podcast is where they're going right now, where it's conversation.
Yeah, that's something I appreciate about just having a conversation with somebody. Whatever you get out of it, at least you got to meet somebody and have a chat with them, right?
It's fun. And I love these too because, like I said, I paint in a room all by myself for hours at end. So when I get to talk to people, yeah, that's how on the weekends I'm like, I get out.
All right, Aimee, I appreciate it again. Thank you, and we'll chat again sometime.
All right, sounds good. Have a good day.
Thank
All
you.
right.